story of Chanticleer the Amazing Rooster. Chanticleer started off life, as all young chickens do, in an egg. Except in Chanticleer's case, and that of his brothers and sisters, their eggs were placed into this incubator and were carefully monitored for 21 days. After 21 days, they emerged as tiny, inquisitive little Dutch Bantam chickens. I cared for them until they were able to take care of themselves, and at 4 weeks of age, Chanticleer began his training to become the truly remarkable card shark that he is today. I've taught Chanticleer a card trick, and I'm going to show it to you at the end of this video. Well, you may be asking yourself, how did you teach Chanticleer to do a card trick? It was easy. I used psychology. I used the principles of operant conditioning, the same principles that you've been learning about in your psychology class. Operant conditioning, as you may remember, includes concepts such as reinforcing behaviors that you would like to have repeated, shaping behaviors, sometimes extinction to get rid of unwanted behaviors, and in some cases punishment, although no punishment was used in this particular study. All I needed to do to teach Chanticleer to do this trick was to reinforce the behaviors that I wanted to have repeated and to not reinforce those, withhold the reward for behaviors that I did not want to have repeated. You may remember Thorndike's law of effect. Thorndike's law of effect says that any behavior that is rewarded will be repeated. Think about it. When you do something good and you get a reward, aren't you more likely to repeat that behavior? Well, the same thing is true for humans, animals, and Chanticleer. Now, before I let you go meet Chanticleer, you might be wondering how he got his name. You may have read in an English class at some time of Canterbury Tales by Chaucer. Well, Chanticleer the Rooster was a famous character in one of Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, and so that's where I got his name. So without further delay, let's go meet Chanticleer. I wanted to show you Chanticleer's house. This is where he lives. We call it the Purple Palace. And when he's not spending time here in the coop with his brothers and sisters, he's practicing his card trick or running around out in the yard looking for tasty things to eat. You might be able to see Chanticleer. He's the large rooster right here in front. Anyway, I just wanted to show you where Chanticleer lives, and now we will move on to the part of the video where I'll show you his card trick. Afterwards, I will explain to you how I taught Chanticleer this amazing performance. Well, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time to see Chanticleer perform his trick. Well, I'm sitting here with an assistant. This is Mr. Thomas Scherer. He's a former Troy University psychology major. He just graduated this past spring. He's about to go off to graduate school at South Alabama to study a master's in clinical psychology. Thomas was also a past president of our chapter of Psi-Chi National Honor Society in psychology. So thanks a lot, Thomas, for coming out
No problem.
and participating in the trick. All right, before we actually start the trick, I'm going to explain to Thomas how it works. And I haven't told you anything really as far as what cards to pick or anything like that, have I?
No.
All right, I've got a standard deck of cards here. You can see they've already been shuffled, but just to make sure, I'm going to shuffle them a couple more times. All right, now I'm going to have Thomas pick a card at random from this deck. And the first card that he picks is going to be the card that Chanticleer identifies by pecking at the card. Okay, so I'm going to set these cards down in front of you, Thomas.
Okay.
All right, now if you'll pick up about a quarter of the deck
All right.
and flip them over. Okay, set them down on top like that. Thank you. All right, now pick up about a half of the deck and flip it over and set it back down. Okay, now pick up the deck and go through the cards until you find the very first face down card. Okay, all right, so if you want to turn over that face down card and show the audience what it is, it's the Queen of Hearts.
Queen of Hearts.
All right, so that's the card that Chanticleer is going to identify. So you can set that Queen of Hearts anywhere in these 5 spaces. All right, and here are the other cards. You can just set them regular. You shuffle it a couple of times.
Okay. I'm not a card ace.
good. And I'll take the cards back from you.
Okay.
Okay, now if you will just pick out any 4 cards at random, you can do it one at a time.
Okay.
And set it up on that, okay? The 10 of diamonds we've got. 7 of clubs. 6 of clubs. And the 9 of diamonds. Okay, so we see we have our cards set up here. And when I bring Chanticleer, he's going to be able to correctly identify the first card that Thomas drew and placed right here in this particular slot, which is the Queen of Hearts. Alright, so we're ready? I'm going to go get Chanticleer. Good job, Chanticleer. Good job. Alright, if you want to pick up the cards now.
Okay. Good job.
Whoa, let's watch that in slow motion. Very good. All right, I would like to thank Thomas for his assistance with this trick, and of course Chanticleer for doing such a good job. And so that concludes the trick. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Okay, I now want to show you how I taught Chanticleer his amazing trick. Well, I started off, as I said, when he was 4 weeks old, and I constructed this temporary housing here made out of chicken wire to sort of isolate him so he wouldn't be distracted by his brothers and sisters, and also so that it would be kind of familiar for him. He was used to the yard. Okay, well, I started off and I had to use shaping. I had to kind of get him to peck the card. Now, chickens normally will peck things in their environment, but it was very, card is something that's not in a chicken's normal environment. So I had to teach him how to do that. So I did that by placing a piece of food on a card and putting the card underneath his face. And it was very difficult at first. Chanticleer. He wouldn't peck the card, but then gradually he did learn how to peck the card. Okay, so after I had taught him how to do it when it was underneath his nose, then I placed the card on the ground and let him come over and peck it. Okay, so he got to where he could do that pretty readily. And so then I had to do it without any reinforcement, without the food sitting on the card. And see if he would come over and peck the card, which he would. And then I would give him a treat. Okay, very good, Chanticleer. Okay, then I moved to having other cards. Would he peck that card, okay? Yes, he would. So that was still a good try. Okay, then I moved to having multiple cards out there. Which card would he pick? Okay, good job. Now you'll notice I'm using a continuous schedule of reinforcement, meaning that I'm reinforcing each and every one of his correct responses. If he does not do a correct response, if he's looking out, wandering around, then he does not get any kind of reward. This is different from an intermittent type of reinforcement where only every other response might be rewarded or every 10th response might be rewarded. Instead, I rewarded him for every correct response. And it took quite a few training sessions, and we did this several times a day for about a week. But believe it or not, Chanticleer was a very quick study. He learned very rapidly. And so that just gives you a little idea of how I went about going about training him for his to become the card shark that he is. Okay, you have just seen how powerful the principles of operant conditioning can be to train an animal, even a chicken, to do a variety of rather complex tasks. People may think that chickens don't have a lot of cognitive ability, but operant conditioning will work just as well on them. So, your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to try to really learn the principles of operant conditioning that are being taught in your psychology class, and try to see if you can use them on an animal or perhaps a human. See what kind of results you get. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and goodbye.